Hey, my name is Tracy Smoke. I'm an author. I've done fiction and nonfiction. I'm welcoming James Cox. He is the editor-in-chief of Midwest Book Review. His organization has been in existence for 46 years, and he is delighted to be able to share insider tips with new authors, with hopeful wannabe authors, with small press, with publishers. His delight is to serve as a Cupid of sorts with readers and genre and writers so that there's harmony and a connection and literacy is promoted. So, Jim, we've done a couple tapings already. We're getting good at this. We did one, we just finished one, which was on what are the timeless truths about promotion. We also talked a little bit about marketing. Our topic today is going to center on craft, writer's craft. What are the elements that are non-negotiable for a work to be perceived as quality and to gain and garner the interest of professionals such as yourself that see hundreds of titles in a week? So can you help us today? Maybe what are the top 3 things that writers must have in terms of polish to be able to make the cut?
Okay, I'm going to speak now as a reviewer who's been rather successful and well-known throughout the publishing industry to the point where I receive an average of 30 books a day, Monday through Saturday. Spring, summer, winter, fall. So I've got 30 books sitting on my desk, but I've only got time for myself to review 2 of them. And I've got 81 volunteer reviewers that'll hopefully take at least some of the other 28. What did those 2 have to make them stand out from the crowd so that I would then invest my time and my talents and my reputation in reviewing those 2 books? First, originality. Even if you're working in a time-honored genre like romance or westerns or crime or cozy mysteries, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with something that's just a bizarre anomaly. But you do have to come up with a fresh reworking of standard genre plot lines or plot developments. If you're going to do a cozy mystery, it's okay to have a lady sleuth who's an amateur, but she's got to be colorfully associated with something that helps her stand out from all the other amateur lady whodunit mystery solving sleuths. So originality. Second, remember, I'm not looking at your pre-publication manuscript or your galley or your uncorrected proof. I'm looking at the finished product the way it would be encountered in a bookstore or a library. And what I like to look at is how well you do as a storyteller, if it's fiction, or as an expert on the subject, if it's nonfiction. If it's a biography, if it's an autobiography or a memoir, you have a special responsibility to know what you're talking about and to be candid when you do. If it's a work of history, you've got to pay attention to the accuracy of detail, because nothing will down your book faster than making a grievous error that your intended readership will immediately pick up on. Third, now this may surprise you, but if it's a work of fiction, it's the first 2 pages that will have to grab me, or I'll set it aside. If it's a nonfiction book, now this is me personally, but it's also how I teach my reviewers or mentor them with the suggestions. If it's nonfiction, I open the book at random and I'll read something 1/3 of the way in or 2/3 of the way in or halfway, and I will read 2 pages. And I will see how well sentences and paragraphs are constructed to convey the information that the page wants to cover. By the way, a simple way of doing this, especially with nonfiction, is you take a chapter heading, you turn it into a question, and then you read to see if that question is answered within the first few paragraphs. Now, it could be elaborated on the last few paragraphs, but that's the mark of a well-written nonfiction title. If you can translate the chapter heading into a question and then answer that question within the first page or two, it's a well-written book and it will stand out from the crowd. So those are the 3 things that I would recommend be paid attention to by the author and by the author's publisher. The Midwest Book Review website was built to be a do-it-yourself curriculum for writing, for publishing, for marketing and distributing. And when it comes to writing, when it comes to constructing your great American novel or constructing the ancient history of Roman spearcraft, there's a section on our website called Author's Bookshelf. And it's an archive of all the how-to books for authors, fiction or nonfiction, that I have reviewed over the last 5 decades. It's all there. And they have the title, author, publisher, the ISBN, a succinct review, and it covers every aspect of writing. All the stuff that you would normally encounter in a college level creative writing class, or books that are specifically designated to how do you write a children's picture book? How do you compose a book of poetry? All that kind of thing. And remember, especially if you're on a shoestring or no string budget, all of these books can be obtained for free through your local community library's interlibrary loan service. Just write down the title, author, publisher, ISBN number, walk down to your community library and ask the librarian to get you those books through the interlibrary loan service.
Yeah, we talked about we talked about that quite a bit in our last session, and that's something a lot of people wouldn't necessarily be aware of. I love your 2-page rule, that either it's the first 2 pages or it's some random 2 pages in the middle that answers the question posed by the chapter heading. That is genius. I love it. I love it. I've never seen it anywhere. So let's talk in closing.
There's a little story behind that to run about 2 minutes. Do we have the time?
Yes, we'll wrap up with that for this session.
I graduated high school with a D- average. I married at the age of 17, dropped out of high school. My wife, who was the adult in the relationship at the age of 21, she and my mother ganged up on me and made me go back to school. Well, they graduated me, so they didn't want me back another year for the D-, but my father pulled some strings and got me into Brigham Young University on academic probation, which means I had 1 semester to shape up or I was gone. And I'm allergic to physical labor. So, but when you're on academics probation, you have to take a course called Study Skills Improvement. And it was a literal class on how to be an effective student, how to read textbooks, how to write reports. And that's where I learned a lot of these little tips, tricks, and techniques that carried me over. And by the way, at the end of the first year, I won a grant, and at the end of the first year as a freshman, I won another grant as being the most advanced student that year in the Brigham Young University student body, D- to straight A's. I went on to graduate with a 3.8. Yeah, so I just screw up in high school until my wife, and backed up by my mother, straightened me out. And books have always been a part of my life. Okay, that's the story.
That's precious. I love you emphasized originality. Be an expert in your topic, whether it's nonfiction, professional field, or if you're creating a world of fiction, whether it's knitting or dog training, you have to have some expertise or exposure in that category. Can you think, with your personal example of being D- to learning to an A, what's one other thing that would take possibly a D- writer to an A level writer? We said originality, we said expertise, the willingness to learn and go to your book watch shelf. What's one other item in 30 seconds?
Writers who are compelled to write, who have no choice if they're going to stay sane, and read. If you're a writer, be a reader. People who read a great deal and diversity in their reading tend to have enhanced wordsmithing abilities. Your vocabulary expands. And when your vocabulary expands, your ability to express, your ability to develop plot twists, your ability to rank in proper order your nonfiction material, your ability to research and develop improve. So if you're going to be a writer, write. And if you're going to be a writer, read. And if you're going to be a publisher, read what's submitted to you by writers.
Hey, thank you so much for your time. I am so grateful that you have decades of caring, not only about the written word, but about the people behind the written word that put their heart and their sweat and their lives to create something with no guarantee that it'll really connect with an audience, but they take the risk anyhow. And thank you to the readers who are willing to journey into times and places that are a unique creation. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and we will see what other topics we can come up with. And in the meantime, have a wonderful day. And you say,
goodbye, good luck, good reading.